My name is Karina and welcome to the Karina Chronicles. Today I will tell you in this video which books I've read in January 2022, and I am very happy with what I achieved this month. So there was a time in 2021 when reading didn't really happen. And I'm very glad that I'm over that now and that I'm actually back at my normal reading speed and even a little bit more. So that's good. I'm also quite happy with the ratings I gave the books that I read this month, which is also very fine. I just started the year very good. So I will have 5 books to talk with you about, and I will give my ratings on the screen and a short review of them. So the first book I read this year was The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. And this is a Russian classic, and I was a little bit scared for it because the only other Russian classic that I read was The Idiot by Dostoevsky. And that one I really liked, but that was so hard. I think it took me months to read that one because the language was just so hard. I couldn't really follow because it was also not meant to be easy followable plot. It was meant to be confusing and a lot of deeper meanings in everything that was said. So I was a bit scared for this one. And I think that I was right to do so. I was right to be scared because this book was also very dense in text, which means that it took me a lot of time to get through it, because there's a lot of text you need to take in before you can continue with the next chapter. There were a lot of chapters, there were they didn't start on a new page, so it doesn't look like that thick of a book, but it felt like it took ages. But that aside, I really liked it. I really liked it. It was so weird. It was in 2 parts. And the first part really was about some characters that were experiencing things that they couldn't explain, and that's why society thought them to be crazy. And that's what the whole first part was about. And the second part was about the Master and Margarita, and it took me a while to get the connection between the two. And it took me a while to even get what I was reading at all, to be honest. And I don't think that at the end I really know what I've read. I know that it is about the Russian government and that it should be like a political statement in the form of a novel, a fictional novel with a lot of magical realism in there and a little bit of just literature. And I think I didn't know the backstories well enough to fully appreciate the book for its worth. And that is just a shame. I can't know what I don't know. But that is a thing. I think it works better for people that are just really into the Russian culture, the whole society, the Russian history. I think that works a lot better than me just going in blind. And I also had a very hard time to separate the people. That was also in The Idiot, it was even worse, because they gave nicknames to characters in the book, but the nicknames are like standardized in Russia and don't really make sense to my Dutch brain. So for me it would make sense to make an abbreviation of a name, and that's then the nickname. So for example, with Karina, people can call me Kar or Ka or something like that, or Karin. And that is like a very common nickname. So people, if they hear like Karin, they still know like, okay, they mean Karina. But in Russian, or at least in these books, they don't do abbreviations. They have standard nicknames for names that I don't get. So if the nicknames are being mentioned, I'm like feeling it's a completely new person. And that's just too complicated. So this review mostly contains me explaining that I was not the right person for this book because I do not have enough knowledge. But I still enjoyed it. I had a very good time reading this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And just because it was so enjoyably written and the story was so crazy and I wanted to know what happened. And I think that's a very good sign. So I would recommend it, but maybe not to everyone. Just look to yourself if you think you are the right person to read this. But if you're into Russian classics, this one is a really good one. The second book I read was Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut, which is also a classic, but then not a Russian one. And I really loved Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut, so I was nervous to go into this book as well because I hoped it would be just as good. And it was so interesting. There was like a science fiction touch to it. It was about the Second World War and the bombing of Dresden. The science fiction bit was about time traveling, and that made it so much more interesting because there are a lot of World War II books, but this one was so unique because of the time traveling. So he traveled into the war, to the bombing itself, before the war, after the war, and he also knew in advance what would happen to him in the future. So he didn't fear during the bombing because he knew he would survive and who wouldn't. It was so uniquely done, but also so beautiful. It showed all aspects of war due to the time traveling, but also because you get to know some characters that are in every part of war. And it's a very short novella, actually. Well, it's not really a novella. I think they say that a novella is under 200 pages, and I believe this one was just over. I'm not remembering precisely. But it's very short. You go through it very quickly, especially because I read a Dutch translation, so that's very easy to me. I really loved it. I just liked it a little less than Breakfast of Champions because there was a lot less humor in it. With Breakfast of Champions, I laughed out loud multiple times, and I didn't have that with Slaughterhouse 5, and I missed that in it. I still think that Kurt Vonnegut has a way to write kind of lightly about heavy topics, which is, I love that because I love to think about all these heavy things, but if they also write it very heavy, you keep getting stuck because it's too much. And this light way really speaks to me, which is why he's one of my favorite authors. I just would have loved to have a little bit more of a laugh. The third one was The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, with this beautiful cover that I've been appreciating for once. This book was kind of a disappointment to me. I love the writing style of Rachel Griffin. The world she created was amazing. Really, I loved how the magic was used in here. The characters, she described how they lived in that world and what they did with their powers, and everything about this world was just incredible to me. The characters, on the other hand, were just not my cup of tea. I didn't like them. I know the main character wasn't supposed to be perfect. She does get called out by other people that she's being very, very naive and also very self-centered. So I know it's on purpose, but it was just too much. None of the characters were believable to me, and that made the story very annoying and also a little bit more predictable. I do see a lot of potential in Rachel Griffin because she wrote the world that really spoke to me. So I'm really curious to see her second book. It's coming out in October 2022. So I am going to read that one. This one was just a good start for a debut novel, but not as much a new favorite as I had hoped. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The fourth book I read in January was Daughter of the Deep by Riordan. Oh my god, what did I do with the cover? Well, sorry. This one I got as a review copy from Best of YA Books, a publisher from the Netherlands. And this book is middle grade, based on 20,000 Miles Below the Sea by Jules Verne. And it was so good. It was so good. I really love this. I think it should be a new children's classic. Because Percy Jackson, the other books series by Rick Riordan, is kind of a children's classic. But that's a whole series, and there are like 3 or 4 series connected to each other all about that, and it's sometimes, especially when people don't read that much, too threatening, too scary to start in something that you know won't be completely finished because you first have to read all the other books. This is a standalone and it is so good. It's very modern. There are a lot of references to, for example, Spider-Man, Adele, TikTok. All these things are really about our time, so children can relate to that more than the older children books where those things don't happen. And the characters in here are representing so many parts of society. There are people with personality disorders in there, people with other disabilities. You have people from all different religions and all different genders, and it's just so good. I am so happy with this book. I really loved it, and I'm happy that I did. The only minor thingy that I had with this was the translation. I read the Dutch version and I thought the translation lacked a lot of, kind of language intuition. Like, this book just didn't feel right in Dutch because they translated a lot of things letter to letter from English. And that is just not how it works. If there is like an English saying or an English nickname or pet name or something like that, or even an English word joke, you can't translate that to Dutch, literally, because it makes no sense in Dutch. I could translate it back in my head to English and then laugh, but that's not how it works. So most of the times it can be a bit annoying to me, but I will just like let it be. But in this book it annoyed me so much that I actually removed 1 star of my rating because of this version of the book. So I feel sorry about that, but I really think that the translation could have some extra look to it. And but I did give it 4 out of 5 stars after all, so it's still very good. And I would recommend you to read a version in your own language, because there are a lot of words made up in this fantasy world, and I always find that very difficult to read in a language that you don't completely understand. So that's why I am kind of disappointed that I do not think the Dutch version is that good. So I would really love them to look into it once more, because I would recommend people to read the Dutch version. And the last one that I've read in January, I actually didn't really finish yet at the point of filming, but I'm very certain that I can finish it within January. So I'm putting it on here, and that's Fire Wave by Anna Stanojevic. That's a book that I got from Anna Stanojevic herself. She sent it to me to review. It's a fantasy novel, and it is actually a novella. It has only like 134 pages, and I'm 20 or 30 pages in, so I know I can finish it very soon. It is, up till now, kind of standard fantasy. I do like the writing style. I'm not used to reading an ebook. This is the first ebook I've ever read. And I noticed that I am hesitant to pick it up, so it's not really grabbing me already. But something can come. I'm only at page 30. So for now, for the first 30 pages, I would give it 3 out of 5 stars. But I will be uploading a reading vlog next Saturday, the 5th of February. I will talk some more about it in there, because I will be finishing it in that video. And that was it. Those were the books that I read in January, 5 in total. I have been reading less last month, so I'm really happy that this is happening. I'm also starting after Fire Wave in The Wastelands by Stephen King, the 3rd part in the Dark Tower series. So I'm really curious how that will go. It is 600 pages and high English fantasy, so that always takes me forever. So I really hope it won't take my whole of February to read this, but we'll see. And that's the next book I will pick up. And I'm happy with the ratings I gave. There's no 5-star and no nothing below 3 stars, so not a really special month, but I'm still happy overall. So let me know in the comments down below what you've read. Did you read a new favorite? Because that's always awesome and I would like to know which one it is. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you subscribe to my channel and you click the notification bell, you will be notified whenever I post a new video. I hope you'll have a lovely day filled with books and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye! I am having so much fun with reading. I know this channel is about reading, so I should be having fun, but it was a little bit gone for a while, but it's completely back now, so that's very good.